That's it. It's time to go live.
All right. I'm excited. Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Yes. Happy Wednesday.
Should I tell them our weather?
Yeah.
We are in a tornado watch. It's getting dark and it's sounding very windy out
But
there.
it's a watch, not a warning.
So, right.
But it did go from like beautiful and sunny to very dark outside.
Right,
So we're just gonna hope the internet cooperates, and but if not, that's probably why.
That's right.
Hello, it's good to see you all in the comments. Hi, Becky from Nebraska. Hi, Ginger. It's been a while since I've seen you, Ginger. You've been busy. Or maybe I haven't seen your name because we've got so many awesome new people in here too, and the comments tend to go a little nuts. So
yes, they do,
which is great. Hi, Joan.
We're glad you're all here. We're just gonna go over some basic stuff today.
Well, and we're doing this because I just posted, I don't know, a week or so ago in our VIP Facebook group where some of you are watching this from. And I just said, what topics are you sort of wanting to know more about during our Wednesday lives? And we had just about 4 comments. So it wasn't a ton of comments, but all but one said sashing.
Sashing. So we're going to go over sashing, but we're going to go over I'm going to build it up until we get to sashing. So from start to finish on sashing. So we won't take long. I'm not going to sew or anything. So shouldn't be too terribly long.
So this is all about after you sew your block.
Kind of yes, kind of no. Well, you'll just have to wait and see. Okay. And hopefully I have something in my head that's logically going to help everybody.
I hope so.
Yep, but don't be afraid to post your questions, or if I confused you more than helped you, just ask me to clarify, and we'll stop what we're doing and go ahead and do that.
So real quick, before Annie gets started with the how-to demo, if you are watching on YouTube, you don't have to do this. If you're watching on Facebook and you've never done this before, you will want to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. I do have a $25 store credit giveaway set up that's for live viewers. But you do need to make sure you do that. So if you're on Facebook and you've never done it before, you're not going to be in the giveaway unless you do that. So make sure you do that. And then I will let you guys know shortly what the keyword is, but just go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. And you're essentially just giving permission to our streaming service, which is StreamYard, to view your name and comments. So we want to make sure you do that.
And if they don't do it, then it'll say Facebook user 1.
Well, it will say it to us. I don't know if they'll see it. They won't know. But yeah, we want to make sure you guys do that. And if you've ever done it before,
it's quick.
You don't have to do it again.
Yep. It'll only take a second.
Okay, Etta, this is perfect for you. She said, thank you. Sashing is one thing she is not comfortable with. So I think this will be a helpful live.
All right.
And I think I'll hand it over to the hostess here.
Okay,
and
I'm going to switch places with you.
Go for it.
Okay. All right. Before we hit on the sashing part of that, we're going to just talk a little bit about how you begin, because we have had a couple people ask about adding a layer of backing after they get their quilt blocks done. Batting. What did I say?
Backing.
Okay. Yes. Don't listen to me. They should all be worried now. But basically our designs, it's not like building a quilt top where you have just fabric and then you have to layer with batting and then layer with backing. With our designs, you start with the batting. So you basically, and I don't have it in a hoop, but this is what you would do. You would take your battleizer, which is a batting stabilizer combination product, and you would put it in the hoop. And then the first step is typically a placement stitch. And I know Aubrey she just grabbed a package of battleizer here. This is the 5-yard package of battleizer, and it's 24 inches wide. And like I said, it's batting and stabilizer both. So for instance, this is how thin it is. So it's nice and thin. It's super easy to hoop. It has a layer of stabilization and also a layer of batting, which is great for doing any type of in the hoop project. So basically you don't need an extra layer of batting, because as you'll see when I show you a quilt block, the batting's already in there because that's where you start. There are a lot of our designs, you have the option of adding an extra layer of wool if you want a little more dimension to your quilt blocks. And again, it's an optional step, but I'm just showing you maybe what the first 2 steps are. I'm not going to go through showing all the steps. I am going to, for instance, this is all the steps, but I'm not actually going to go through all of them. Each design is a little bit different. I would like to jump through to the last one. There it is. And we're going to talk about the trimmer by George. So the trimmer by George is an acrylic ruler, and it is also a device that has a metal edge on it right here. You can see that thin metal edge. And the thin metal edge is what's going to protect your fabric on the front of your block from being cut. The goal is when you join your blocks is you want to remove the bulk from the seam. So you not only get sashing, you get a trimmer demo today. I'm not actually going to cut this because, I'm just not, but I'm going to talk you through it.
And this is usually day 2 of any workshop is the trimmer.
Right.
So we go into that detail
Right.
quite often.
And we do. So, and that's great to join in on day 2. I know lately a lot of ours have been one-piece backing that we've been showing you. But just so you know, we're going to show you both backing, a couple different backing options. But this metal edge, let's just say if we were going to take this any acrylic ruler and lay it down even with that and then try and cut that away, you have like a 99% chance of slicing into that fabric. And even if you tried to use a scissors to do that, you have a really good chance of slicing into your block, which we don't want to do that. We want to remove the bulk safely. So you just slide that metal edge of your trimmer by George ruler and then shimmy it in there and lay it down.
Don't forget the shimmy.
You gotta shimmy. And then you're gonna give a gentle tug, and you are also gonna just visually look to make sure that you didn't pull super hard and end up having the fabric come out. And then you would just take a 60 millimeter rotary cutter and you would cut the battleizer. And if there's backing fabric on there, you would also cut your backing fabric away. And that leaves only the fabric on the front. Now, I want to point out too that you do need to have a 60 millimeter rotary cutter. And that is because the metal edge raises that ruler up a little bit. And if you were to use a 45 millimeter rotary cutter, it has less room right in through here. So what you would do where the screw is and the edge of the blade is because there's less room, it wouldn't fit where the ruler is raised. So your tendency to make it work would be to put your rotary cutter on an angle instead of straight up and down. And when you do that, you're still going to probably chop into your block, which you don't want to do. So we're just going to pretend that our bulk is removed. So then what you do with the extra fabric on the front, you just flip over to the ruler side of the trimmer by George, and you line up that 1/4 inch mark with the basting stitch, and then you can cut that excess fabric away. And I do want to show everyone too that the trimmer by George, this is one that's still in the packaging. There's a QR code there. So the QR code that's on the trimmer by George is a very in-depth demo, a video that you can watch on how to use it. And I think it is probably one of the better videos that we have to show how to use our trimmer by George. And Linda did that video for us, and I think you will find that it's extremely helpful. It's also probably all over our website. Mm-hmm. It's probably in the VIP Facebook group and everywhere else. On the other side, there is another QR code, and that QR code is for a free design that you can get off our website for the trimmer by George case that you can make to store it in, especially if you're going to class or something. I like to call it the sleeping bag for George. You put a little button on there and a little hairband to keep everything in there. So that's something free you can get from our website. And we're going to go ahead and I just want to talk about the different ways to back something. I just have some small samples here. So this one here, the blue, this is a example of a one-piece backing. So you have your beautiful quilting and your blocks on the front. On the back, Now you're going to have your layer battleizer because that's what you put in the hoop, and then you build your block with the fabric. You trim them using the trimmer by George, and then you choose, you can choose whether you want to put your backing on while it's in the hoop, or you can choose a one-piece backing. The one-piece backing, you just lay out your backing. You're going to put your backing right side down to your table and lay your quilt top right on top of it like this, and make your fabric an inch or two larger. And a lot of our designs that walk you through a one-piece back, they'll tell you exactly how big to cut your fabric for your backing. And then you'll put safety pins in there. And I always say, don't put safety pins in the seam areas where your blocks are sewn together. Put them like in the middle of your block, because what you're going to do then is you're going to use a serpentine stitch, and you can hardly see the serpentine stitch on there. It's very difficult to see, and like 99.9% of our designs, you can see it a little bit better on the back. And I will say on this back, they used a color blue thread in the bobbin, and in the needle, they used a monopoly, which is a superior thread, and it's a invisible thread, and that was done in the needle. And that way, as you're going through the front, if you go through a bunch of different colors of fabric on the front, it just blends right in with the quilting. So this is, you can get this from your sewing machine dealer. You can get the trimmer by George and the battleizer from your sewing machine dealer. If they don't carry it, you can ask them to, or you can get it from our website if neither one of those things works for you. So this is in Superior Threads Mono Dot Poly. Looks like Monopoly.
Mhm.
That'll help you remember. But this is for a one-piece backing. That's how you would do that. You can also, I will many times use monopoly in the bobbin and also in the needle. And so you can do it either way. So that is a one-piece back. So if you're going to do a design that has where you're putting the back in the hoop, by the way, this is the back of this block. This is the front. This is our log cabin design. You can see the quilting that's there. So in this, as you're going to hoop your battleizer and the wool, which is optional, then you tack down the first piece, and then you just start doing seams and stitching and flipping until you get your log cabin block done. And all the fabric's on the front. And then if you want to do the back, add the fabric while it's in the hoop, then you take your hoop off the machine and you put the backing fabric on it, and it clings really nice to the battleizer too, by the way. So you put that on there, and then you would match your needle thread to your bobbin thread. You can see we have blue here and blue there and orange there and orange on this side. So you do have to match your bobbin threads. And the reason I say that is because if you do not have perfect tension when you're stitching this out, you may have some of a different color coming through either the front or in the back. But matching your needle with your bobbin thread is what we tell you to do. And trying to think, oh, the other thing is too, once you put your backing fabric on there, if you're backing it while it's in the hoop, then you're also going to turn off your automatic thread cutter. And before you begin stitching the quilting part, you're going to do a needle down and a needle up, and you're going to bring that bobbin thread to the top of the block, and then you're going to hit the start button so it can begin sewing your quilting. So there's the two different options, one piece back or adding the back while it's in the hoop. The advantages are you can see the beautiful quilting that's on the back. Disadvantage of this method is that it might take you a minute to wind a bobbin. But look at how beautiful that looks. That looks absolutely gorgeous.
Someone recently just said, I feel like on our live, someone recently just said that if you want to take a quilt to a show and have it judged, they do want to see more this way.
More this way. Yeah.
Not this way.
Right.
So that's, if
Right.
you're going to do something
You're
like
right.
that.
Because if you were looking at this and judge which one you like better, I would say this one right here. This one definitely wins out. And that's, like you said, judges are going to look for that sort of thing.
So is this one just faster?
It is faster because you don't have to stop and wind a bobbin and, change your bobbin thread out.
I noticed that we
yeah.
like to do this on smaller projects
Right.
and we like to do this on larger
Right.
projects.
Larger projects, this is my preferred method just because the larger projects, you don't have to lay something out that's really big and then add your backing fabric to it. So anyhow, that's that. I'm going to, and then to join the blocks together, this is just 2 pieces. This is a little 5-inch with the border from Log Cabin. Let's see what it looks like on the front. And here, this is what I'm going to show you today is I'm going to show you how to pin the blocks together the right way, how to sew, where you sew your seam, and how to put the sashing on. On your sashing, you can choose to contrast it so it is another design element, or if you want to, you can match it. Like you could have used orange to make it blend in a little bit more. But you can see where the sashing is. Bring it in a little closer. You can see that serpentine stitch is just sewn on both sides of that sashing. Here's the front. Now, I will tell you that here we use the same color thread, the blue. It's still kind of hard to see, but I'm going to show you what that invisible thread will look like. So
can I ask you a question that I just noticed?
Sure.
Do you use the same thread in the bobbin as the needle? I'm assuming that they're talking about when you want to see it on the back.
Yes.
So maybe, and then the follow-up question is, so not the 90 weight usual bobbin weight thread?
No, if you want the quilt, if you want to put your backing on while it's in the hoop and you want that quilting to show through, then you will use the same thread you have in the needle. You will just wind a bobbin with that thread. So for instance, your polyester embroidery thread, I think it's a 40 weight, and you would just wind a bobbin with that and put that in the bobbin.
Okay, good question.
Okay, that is a good question. Okay, so I have a couple I am so thankful to Sarah because we told her we were going to do this. She goes, here, I have some samples you can use. I'm like, that is so helpful. So what we're going to do is we have these 2 blocks. We know that they need to be sewn together. So you would put right sides together. I'm going to show you how to pin. Let me move my pins over here so I'm not crossing over. So for pinning, your tendency might be to just, you just do this. But by putting it through all those thicknesses, you're probably, your blocks are shifting this direction. But if you take your pin.
So that's the big red X way to do it.
Right, exactly. So you would instead, we're going to use an anchor pin. So our first pins are going to be anchor pins. I hear wind and rain out there.
Oh my gosh, I know.
So here is the corner of your block, and you can see the basting stitch right there. I have my anchor pin stuck there. I have my anchor pin right through the corner of that. And now I'm going to put it through the corner of the block that I want to sew that to. Okay, I'm going to leave that in there just like that. I'm not going to bring it back through. It's just an anchor pin. It's just going to hold my spot. And then the other thing you need to do is you need to look on here where you have to look for match points. So our corners are match points, but on this block, we also have where that satin stitch is. That's also a match point, or where you may have thread or fabric that changes to a different fabric. That is also that seam where your fabric is another match point. So I have my pin there, and it's right on the outside edge of that satin stitch. And I'm going to put it in the same spot on the other block. And again, these are both anchor pins.
Right? Now, it looks a little funny.
It does look a little funny. But what I'm going to do now is where I put this first anchor pin, now I'm going to put a permanent pin in there that we can use for when we sew. I am not putting it through all the layers. Instead, I'm going to put it through the seam allowance that's right here, because it's just 2 pieces of fabric. So I'll put it through the seam allowance, and then I can put it back through the block. I'm going to do that a little closer to where my anchor pin is. So I have my pin going in through the seam allowance. I wish it was different color fabric, but it's not, but it will be in the other corner. And then you can take your anchor pin out. I am going to, this is our other match point. So I'm going to put a pin right through there. Hopefully you can see it's right through the white. and then back through the blocks on the other side. I'm going to also do the corner. I would also do the corner here. It's close, but I want to make sure my corner starts out right. So I'm going to check the other side and make an adjustment if necessary. I'm just going to drop another pin there so my block starts out right. I know they're pretty close together. And you might want to even do the same thing right here in the middle. And the only thing you're going to line up, there's really no matching points there, but you're just going to take your anchor pin and put it where the basting stitch is, and also the basting stitch on the other block. And then you can take your second pin, put it through the seam allowance, and then through the other side of the block, and then you can remove your anchor pin. Then what you would do is you would go to your sewing machine, and you would go ahead, you would just choose a neutral color thread that's going to blend well with your quilt and the needle and also in the bobbin. And then you would sew right on top that basting stitch there. So that's where you would sew. I'm going to grab this little scissors and just to point that out. You are going to sew right exactly right on top that basting stitch all the way down. And I usually start here, do a couple back stitches, and then go forward and then do the same thing on the other side. And then when you open it up, you will hopefully have
I ordered coffee.
Oh, always getting a coffee delivery.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Oh. But anyway, then you sew your seam, take your pins out, don't run them over, and then it will be sewn together. So here is 2 blocks that are sewn together, and you can see what you would do is then press your seam to one side. And so if you have different rows, you're going to, of course, alternate your rows so that the seam allowance will kind of nicely lock into place. So when you sew your rows together, it makes it easier too. And I don't know if this is going to come across on the camera or not, but you can see where the basting stitch is on there. I should have grabbed something that was obvious.
We do this every time.
We do this every single time. But you can see where the basting stitch is showing a little bit. So when we tell you to use water-soluble thread for that step to add your backing fabric or to tack something down, this would be the reason why, because you don't want to have to go back in here and all these seams and rip them out with the seam ripper. You're much better off if you can just get it wet and have it dissolve. So press your seams to one side. And I also wanted to mention too, that if this one does not have wool in it, but if you decided to use the wool for extra dimension, when you use your wool, we tell you to press the edges. So here's a tiny piece of wool. It has the edges pressed just like a 1/4 of an inch. And that's just so your presser foot, as it's doing the zigzag to attach that it doesn't get caught. And what the iron does is it flattens that edge. You can see how nice and flat that is. But the thing is, when you go to press your seam to one side, if you have wool, you run the chance of smashing your wool and having it all end up nice and flat where you want that dimension. So we like to use what we call a strip stick. And we have these on our websites, and I'm sure your local sewing shop has that too. But the strip stick, it raises that edge, that seam that you need to press so that you can take the tip of your iron and press just that seam without the heat and whatever smashing down that wool. It just gets just the seam. And I always like to flip it over and then press it from the front as well. So that's a strip stick, and we have that on our website or at your local sewing store as well.
But now we got to cover it.
Yes, we have to cover that so you can see that seam. The back looks pretty with the stitching, but we need to cover the raw edge of that. So this is...
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Diane asks, can you use anything other than wool? Yeah, if you're
Yes.
allergic to wool, then you can use bamboo, or look, Nina's already on it. Bamboo
Yeah.
or polyester batting. So if wool is not your jam, you can do
Right.
something like that. And then we had another question. Where did it go now? Oh, what is the difference between the press stick you have, which is the strip stick, and a wood one? And there's probably not much difference.
This is actually, if I were to,
Right.
I mean, this is covered with fabric and a tiny bit, maybe feels slightly, maybe it's not padded. I'm not sure. But if I had to take this apart it's half of a wood dowel cut in half. So you have a straight edge and then a rounded edge there.
And there were years where we used a
Rolling
rolling pin,
pins.
but then it would wiggle. And so we
Right.
found these and we're like, well, this is great. So
it is
use
great.
what works for you.
Right. So if you have one that's just wood, that's fine too. Or if you have one that the strip stick that has the little covering over it, that is also works just perfectly.
I got
fine.
one more question that I have seen on previous lives too. A lot of people often ask about, which way to press the seams. Lucy's asking today, can we press the seam open? Do you have any disadvantages or advantages? I know you like to do it to one side.
I like to do alternating rows to one side. I can't show you what's on the board over there or how I press my seams.
You should record a video while you finish that one. Anyway,
I'm planning on it.
Okay.
Stop telling me what to do. Just kidding.
I can't be here then. Too bossy.
Okay. She is. But, I come from a quilting background, so I think that probably is why, alternate your seams, press to one side. Pressing to one side is just, and alternating those seams just helps those seams lock together. So when you're lining this one up with the next row, those seams, and you just kind of move it around and they seem to get locked right in place. And that just helps get everything lined up on your blocks and intersections to match and stuff like that. But I will tell you that I have, in some situations, maybe I had an applique that spilled over from one block to another. And so there's extra fabric in there in the seam. So if there's a lot of extra fabric on the seam due to applique going through two blocks, I will sometimes press that open because it just wants to go that way. And why fight it? So either way, because your sashing strip is definitely going to be wide enough to cover that. Okay, so let's talk. This is a sashing strip. I know it's already on here, but I just wanted to show everybody. This is a sashing strip. You cut it on the straight of grain, and it is 1.5 inches wide. As a matter of fact, our trimmer by George has a marking for sashing on it right there, and also one for binding. So you don't have to go, oh, now how wide did they say? And you're flipping through pages of instructions. It's right there on this. And you can actually take the width of your fabric, and it's already folded in two, and you can fold it again. And this should be wide enough to be able to use this to cut your sashing strips. 1.5 inches though, if you need to know, you cut it 1.5 inches wide. I know I have a batik here, but this is the wrong side. It's hard to tell on a batik. And then you just press it so that the raw edges meet on the back. So this is the right side, and on the inside is the wrong side. So you just press it so that the raw edges meet in the back, and that's how you make your sashing strip. And you would just cut those 1.5 inch strips. I like to join them together on the diagonal because then you have less bulk in one place, and your seam will be going like this rather than straight across. But you just join them together, and most of our instructions will say, hey, you need so many inches of sashing, and we tell you how many strips to cut by the width of fabric. So that's how you make your sashing strip. So then what you're going to do on this sample, you can see here is our seam right here. Basically, you're going to take your sashing strip. Oh, I'm going to try it on this side. I like to take it. I'm going to actually snip a seam because I want you to see this. We have red thread in here so that you can see it. But I like to take, you can see where the two raw edges, they don't quite meet, and that's okay. But where the seam is, you're going to take the center of the back of the sashing strip, line it up with the seam, and you're going to lay it down. And then you're going to choose a serpentine stitch, and you're going to stitch on both sides, just like that. Now, I used to, when I first started doing it this way, I would use a product called Wonder Tape, which is a double-sided sticky tape. And I would lay that right there on the seam, and that way it will hold my sashing in place. After a while, I'm like, that just seems like an added step, and I tried it without. And if you just lay your sashing strip on there, and you start sewing your seam, when this is loose, you just peek underneath it and just keep sewing. And you you'll be able to keep it right lined up real nice with that seam. And then you'll go over on the other side and do that too. Now let's talk about what threads are in your needle and what threads are in your bobbin. You can see we have red thread here and red thread there because we just wanted to show you what it looked like. We suggest to use the again, that Superior Threads monopoly thread. You're going to use in the bobbin, and I use it in the needle as well. So you are going to be stitching from the back side. If you wanted to match your needle thread to your sashing strip or to your backing, you can do that. But once in a while, again, I've had that tension problem where you'd be able to see the thread pop up here on the front. So I would suggest using the monopoly in the needle and the bobbin. Do your serpentine stitch on one side and then go ahead and do it on the other side. And I wanted to also point out that the monopoly thread from Superior also comes on pre-wound bobbins. You can wind your own from the spool. However, it's really not necessary to do. If you want to get this, you can. And again, your sewing machine dealer will probably have this. And again, it's on our website. There are 2 different bobbin styles, and that's the bobbin that you use is going to absolutely depend on the machine that you are sewing on. So you need to, and we aren't going to recommend, this style bobbin for that machine and whatever. We recommend that you go and verify that with your sewing machine dealer or check out your manual and see. But we do have these also on our website, but go see your dealer first. And then I wanted to show you too, this is one, I think, yep. Oh no, she also used colored thread on this one. I'm trying to find one where we didn't. Aubrey's more prepared than I am. So once you get both of these sewn on here on both sides, then you get another piece of sashing and you can go the other direction. You will go right over the top of the previous one that you did. So Aubrey's brought this in here for me. So this is our log cabin quilt. And you can see where the sashing strips are, where they matched. And just in case you're like, do I want to match? Do I want to make it contrast? I'm trying to find that other little, oh, no. So here you have an example of one where your sashing is matching and one where you're contrasting. So it all kind of depends on the look that you want for your quilt. But I want to show you on the front where the serpentine stitch is. You can barely see it. It's right there. Generally, the more quilting you have in our blocks, the more that's going to blend in. The less quilting there is, then the serpentine stitch may be a little bit more noticeable, but you really do have to look for it.
I got 2 really great questions. Let's talk about Diane's question from YouTube first.
Okay.
She's saying sashing is only on the back to cover the seams, correct?
That is correct.
Yep.
That is correct.
So you can tell that in right here.
Yep.
And then in the front.
The front.
Nope.
Nothing on the front.
So there's that question. Sashing can be front and back. We're going to have a design in a couple months where we actually intended to have it on the front.
Right.
So yeah, it's always like there's always like a asterisk, right? Like in this situation,
this is what you do, except
right. We also have a Facebook user asking, how many squares are manageable to do when sashing? That's a good question.
That is a very good question. We have some heirloom quilts, and what I will usually do on the heirloom quilts is I will take a section at a time. So whether you want it to be like 3 blocks by 3 blocks, and I'll sash those 3 block sections, and I'll just start piling up my sections, and then I'll do the seams on my sections, and then cover those seams with sashing. So you can definitely, I've in the past done it like row by row, where I sash all my rows. That to me was a lot more work. It's a lot easier if you just take it in block sections and divide your quilt up do it in sections. Sew your sections together and then sash those seams.
Pamela says, do you have the material in your shop? I love the colors.
Oh,
We don't.
No,
Occasionally, when we launch a design in a workshop, we will occasionally have fabric kits. This one, we did not do fabric kits, and we don't have it in the store. Do you pin the sashing before sewing?
I do not. It's something where you just you would match where the raw edges meet in the back right on the seam. I wouldn't pin it. If you would want something for a little bit insurance, make sure things don't slip, which I guarantee you, once you do a few of these, you're going to go, I don't really need anything. But a product called Wonder Tape, a double-sided water-soluble tape that you can use. It's about 1/4 of an inch thick. You can lay that over the seam and then put your sashing on it. The other thing you can use is, what is that glue that we like to use?
Roxanne's Glue Based It.
Glue Based It is another one you can use, and you just need a few teeny tiny dots on there. But I'm telling you, when you're sewing, you're doing your serpentine stitch here, and as you get to the next section, you line it up, you sew the next section, and then you line it up again, and you just keep going. And I guarantee you, we will probably prefer at some point to go, I don't need any glue, I don't need any tape. I'm just going to lay that there and sew, and just keep checking underneath as I go to make sure it's lined up.
And Catherine, whose comment is on the screen right now, is a frequent hoop sisterer. She's an honorary hoop sister, and she loves the basting glue that we mentioned.
Yep, the basting glue is great.
Yeah, and Ginger, again, someone who does our stuff all the time. So I think these are two fabulous comments. Who they still do like to use those extra things. Ginger says that she still uses the fusible Wonder Tape, and she finds it the easiest for her. So those are two options as you go through. Okay. Any other questions that we should answer? You guys let us know if you have any other questions. I'm going to pop us back into the screen here. And I'm also going to pop in our keyword one more time, if I can find it. So our giveaway today is $25 in store credit, and the keyword is workshop. So type the word workshop. And if you have questions, Annie's, here, I'm going to star this because I see another question, and then the comments are going to get crazy here in a minute. But yeah, so if you have questions, let us know. If not, workshop for the giveaway. And I do have 2 announcements.
Okay, cool.
The first announcement is that we do have a new texting phone number. So we just want to make sure that you're aware. So if you were familiar with the old number and you see a different number coming up on your phone, it is us. And we're just kind of using a different system now and integrating different things. So it is us. It is safe. Nobody's really asked or been worried about it, but I just want to make sure that you guys are aware, because we do like to send texts when you register for different events. And then the other announcement that I have real quick is, today we talked a lot about kind of the back end of it, right? So in our workshops, we
literally the back side.
The back side of it. But in our workshops, we like to stitch out a block, from the beginning. Hoop your battle. We start at the beginning, right? We went more into the back half of the project today. But if you are kind of going, well, I'd love to see how this goes from start to finish, the Bucket Bag Workshop would be great for you to hop into. These are free virtual how-to events, and we do feature a new design when we do it. And if you'd like to order it after we do the how-to part, you're welcome to, but you don't have to. Registration's totally free, and they're just really nice. It's a nice way to come together, get your questions answered live, which I think is nice as well. But this one is going to be on a bucket bag. And if you don't know what that is, just trust me. You need to register. We will show you. And when you register for this event, you're actually also going to get a free gift, which is the coffee koozie right there. So stinking cute.
I think it's so cute.
And so you'll get that for free just for registering. And it will also just make sure that you get different reminders and recaps. So like follow-up replays and things like that after the event is over. We'll know who wants it and where to send it. Okay. I will tell you, registration does close next Tuesday, the 23rd at noon Eastern time. So don't fall asleep on this. Go get it because it's super duper cute and it doesn't cost you a darn thing. So I would highly recommend that. Okay.
You had a question start in there. I think I remember
I
what
did.
it was.
Got it?
I got it. The question was, if you press the seams open, is the sashing strip still wide enough to cover it? And the answer is yes, absolutely it is.
Okay, good. Good questions today.
Very good questions.
And I would also love, I'm sure Nina's watching. Nina, if you could drop the registration link to make it super simple for everyone to just get over to the website and register. This is going to take place next Tuesday and Wednesday. So we'll go into more detail. Linda's going to be doing the live with me. She's going to show you a whole bunch of good stuff in there.
Linda is our professional bag lady.
Yeah,
she is.
She's really good at it.
She is.
She also did, if you're kind of curious and you like bags, she also did
Twisted Totes.
And it was super popular.
Yep.
Really cool bag. So that's on our website. So if you're curious about bags, go check that out. But yeah, so let's do, what do you think? Giveaway time?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Let's see who our winner is. $25 in Hoop Sisters store credit. Here we go. Okay. You guys ready? You ready to see who wins? Let's do it. We've given a lot of store credit away this year.
We have.
It's fun to do.
Now we'll have something new to use it on.
Yeah.
Ooh, Colleen D.
Hello,
Congratulations.
Colleen. That's awesome.
That is very exciting.
She's watching over on Facebook. Thanks for joining us, Colleen. And we are so glad that you get to walk away from today's event with, I'm going to show you how to get it too, with $25 in store credit. So what you're going to want to do, Colleen, is email Nina. Her email's at the bottom of the screen within 5 days of today. Let her know that you were our live winner for that 25 in store credit. And just so you know, when you join us for the workshop next Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to do 2 days of live giveaways too. Wow. So there is some incentive for joining live and checking out all the goodness that we got going on.
So there's giveaways and the coffee koozie gift for registering. So lots of fun things coming up.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, you all. Well, we're like, what's that comment?
Yeah, what's that
That's
comment?
A longer one. Okay. All right. It's okay if you registered twice. It's okay. Yeah. You'll probably just get 2 freebies. It's fine.
We'll just notify you twice.
Yeah. You'll get 2 of everything. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We hope this was helpful. And let us know if there are some other topics that you'd like Annie or Sarah or Linda to dive into during our Wednesday lives, because we want you guys to feel like you're learning something and you want to try something different. So let us know. Okay.
Okay. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.